In this video, I share the exact blueprint of the meltdown method. So if you've been waiting for it, here we go. This is how I know to guide kids through meltdowns in a way that they'll feel confident and capable, not just in those moments of tough emotion and tough sensation coming up, but in all moments and all of life's gifts and challenges along the way. I'll be sharing my entire blueprint to walk kids through these meltdowns, and not just the big moments, but anything that comes their way. It has taken me decades of being with kids to figure it out and to perfect it, so pause now and get ready to take notes. Before we do that, let me recap what I covered in the last 3 videos. First, I showed you why compliance interaction keeps kids stuck, fearful, and detached from themselves and the world and others around them. We talked about the meltdown method and how it works better than anything else that I've seen so far to guide kids in these tough moments. I also shared exactly how to get started implementing the meltdown method. Finally, I gave you the essential step in how to be available for kids' emotion, starting with ourselves. In case you haven't watched the first 3 videos yet, make sure you do that because they are full of those essential golden tips that I've learned throughout the years, and I'm excited to share with you. With that being said, let's jump right into the meltdown method blueprint. This is the exact roadmap that I use and all of my clients use to influence calm in their lives. The first step is to observe their behavior, to notice the facts. Instead of saying this child is crazy, we say this is a 4-year-old learning to manage their emotions. This is a 5-year-old that needs our support, and they are showing us that they need our help in the only way that they know how. We check our own judgments and we notice how we're bringing our own experience into it. This is important because if we don't consider and pause, we perpetuate that reactivity. We think it's about them, we perpetuate compliance-driven interaction, we want to punish and bribe, and this really helps no one along the process, even though we absolutely probably all will do these things at times because there's no perfection. It's all about taking these little moments and expanding them versus all the things that we aren't doing. Maybe we are upset because they are crying and needing and exhausted, and we are exhausted, and we recognize that we didn't get that space when we were kids around these emotions. And we feel like, hey, we didn't get this stuff as kids, and we're trying to give it to you now, and it's not working. So the idea that if we do this, kids will behave or not have human emotions is false. So moving through, noticing what is coming up for us. Maybe they're angry and expressing themselves in totally developmentally appropriate physical ways, and we are flooded because there was no model of healthy expression of anger in our own childhoods, in our own houses, in our own communities growing up. Once we understand all of the ways that we bring our own stuff into interaction with kids, no matter how far back or how convinced we are that it didn't impact us, no matter how much we think it doesn't have to do with the present, we establish a foundation for being present with kids in these tough moments. Without witnessing our own experience, we bring these judgments and we bring these unresolved things into our relationships with them. We need to understand how to connect with our bodies and emotional states. Because when we cannot regulate our body, no matter how much cognitive insight we have, no matter how much we think about and how much we know what we want to do, in the moment, those core issues will remain. Without regulating our nervous system, we are stuck. We try to think ourselves out of it, but those painful memories come up and they are stored not just in the brain, but in the body. And the body often tells the brain how to respond. If we go into stress physiology, which is the fight, flight, freeze response, or our sympathetic nervous system that is really on overdrive and doing whatever it can to protect itself, we get angry, we shut down, we freeze. Instead of knowing how to regulate and calm ourselves through these moments and use grounding body methods, get to self-compassion. There's nothing more frustrating when we humans are upset and the people around us don't grasp the magnitude of it. Or worse, maybe they punished it or shamed it or rejected it. The next step shows you how to do this and why it's so important to connect via our silent cues when kids aren't ready to hear any words. What exactly to say and do so that they know that we are present with the person that they are, not the person that we think they should be or the person that we want them to be in that moment, but exactly where they are. This is important because seeing individuality is one of the most powerful relational tools that we have when it comes to guiding a child's nervous system in a place they're able to calm. Next is seeing how their feelings connect to all of humanity. Normalize. You'll get practical ways to normalize all that they're going through. The mission behind this is debunking much of that innate loneliness and feelings of separateness so prevalent in society today. Once we're feeling grounded and connected and together, it's time for the next step, creating space and guiding their innate capacity to problem solve from there. Finally, what do we do when we inevitably mess up? We have yelled, we've been short, we've blamed, we've criticized, our shadow self is out in full effect, and we modeled exactly what we are afraid of. We fear repeating patterns that aren't helpful and get lost in this black hole of guilt and shame. The last step, and one so essential in resilient relationships, is how to revisit and repair when we mess up and act outside all of the gloriously beautiful values that we have. All of this and a lot more is covered in my upcoming course, Thriving Through Meltdowns 2.0. I'll show you in detail how to reduce the moments of explosivity, intensity, and frequency of these big emotions and guide you to feel empowered, like you have tools, versus helpless in the moment. I'll also guide you how to repair when we mess up with the ones that matter to us most. You'll learn some exact options and phrases and go through case studies for how these steps of my method supported kids in the moment. It's almost like you're in clinic with me, walking through this process step by step and implementing it with the kids that you love. So make sure you're on the lookout for when Thriving Through Meltdowns launches, because this is really the most current, applicable information I've released. If you've watched the second video in the series, then you already know the first step you can take to get started. Next video, I'll share a specific example of what it looks like when you are up and running with the Thriving Through Meltdowns method. I'll walk you through a detailed case study that shows just how quickly you can benefit from this method. I'll see you there.